Hello again, welcome back to AGRC 210. This is Unit 3, the buying process in agriculture. And again, I'll remind you, the buying part of this isn't just always centered on a product. It may be an idea that as we apply it to the leadership technique. We're really going to get into applying the technicals now. Some of the previous couple units here, we've talked about some of the soft skills, and we'll revisit those often. But Unit 3 represents one of the things, first times that we'll talk about some of the technicals in the process of buying in agriculture. So let's get to our content here. There'll be a 2-segment section here, so I can break this up into smaller chunks in Unit 3. So first things first, we need to develop a customer strategy. And I've got some interlocking circles here, and utilizing more diagrams through these few sections here is first, you have to have a really carefully conceived plan that results in maximum customer responsiveness. You have to be able to engage a customer. And please don't assume that the manipulation thing is going on here. That generally, customers can see right through that and can feel that whenever they feel like they're getting the hard sell, I like to use that term, or feel like they're being worked into buying a product and things of that nature. They don't tend to respond to that well over the long term. That may happen once, but it probably won't result in a lot of long-term sales. So you have to really think about a plan that gives the best customer responsiveness. You've got to really then get to an understanding of a customer's buying needs and what motivates them to buy. We have to really think about what their particular needs are, and that comes through learning as much as you can about a customer or prospect. Then you need to understand the customer's buying process. Who makes the decisions, when and how? That's 3 really big questions there, and oftentimes it's not always that clear. You may not know, you may not be talking to the right person who's even the decision maker occasionally. You may not understand when a decision might be made. It may take forever to get to that point on occasion. And then lastly, how does that decision get made? What's going to trigger a yes or a no? So let's look at a couple different types of buying situations, and make sure that you keep these separate as you take notes along this section here. First is a new task buy. We call a new task buy, it's a first-time purchase of a product, and that selling process may take as short as a few minutes and as long as several weeks or months. Think about this is a new product that a customer maybe has never used before, never purchased before, never thought about purchasing even before. And so it may involve a lot of different things. It may take a lot of time to gather information, both for you and for them, to identify the right types of matches for their situation. It may take the input of a lot of decision makers on the farm or in the agribusiness. They may need to that prospect may need to get a lot of buy-in from different components of their operation in order to agree to everyone be on board with purchasing a solution of some kind. That's a new task buy. It takes a little while to get through that process on occasion because there's a lot of quote unquote education that has to happen through this process if they don't know a lot about it. And it's compounded if they don't know a lot about you or they don't know a lot about your company. So that takes a little while to get that process established and get through the selling process occasionally. It's not as simple as what you'll see sometimes in class in our selling scenarios, where you're going to walk in with a product and 10 or 15 minutes later you may or may not have a sale. It's not going to happen like that very often or all the time out in ag. It's going to take a little while in the industry. So be prepared for a new task buy. You need a certain strategy for those new task buyers. You also have a second buying situation in which we call a straight rebuy. It's something that they routinely purchase. For example, motor oil. Something that you've sold them before, and you just have to make sure that barrel is full or the container is kept full at the right times out there for whenever they're changing oil. So you've got to maintain product quality. You've got to make sure that you provide the proper service. Make sure that you have that product in inventory at the right time and it's delivered at the appropriate time and place. So there's a lot of different things here that that you have to plan for in a straight rebuy situation. Feed is another example. You maybe have sold a producer that's finishing steers a mineral vitamin package, and they're a good customer and a straight rebuy customer. You've got to make sure that that product has the same quality, it's delivered at the correct time, at the correct place, and you have all of the components in inventory to make that product in your mill all the time, and you maintain a standard of service that customer expects. And if all those things come together, they'll oftentimes just continue to rebuy. And this is a really, really crucial piece of being successful in the agribusiness sales area, is you need those repeat customers that straight rebuy. You don't have to resell or re-go through the buying process every single time that they make an order. Next is what we call the modified rebuy. And this would be a situation where maybe there's been a slight change to the product specs, maybe a little bit different delivery schedule, or maybe the price has changed a little bit. I mentioned feed in the previous slide, and that would apply here too, especially as you see the prices of grains go up and down. That's going to affect the bottom line price of your feed. So you may have to really think about a different pricing strategy and inform the customer so that they understand that price of feed may go up or the price of feed may go down if your input cost is lower. Occasionally they may be feeding more steers, so do they need a more often delivery schedule? So you have to, again, do these things carefully to maintain accounts. Customers are very, very difficult to get, and so keeping them is absolutely paramount. That you do a great job of, once you've secured a customer, transitioned a prospect to a customer, that you keep them. That's really crucial in being successful in the business. Next is what we call systems selling. And these appeal to a buyer who really likes a packaged solution. And again, this happens really often in agriculture. And I'll give you a great example. You think about the many co-ops and excellent co-ops that we have in our area here in Southern Illinois. And not only do they offer one solution for your operation, let's start with fertilizer, but they also will sell you chemicals, they'll buy your grain, they'll help you with building situations sometimes on your farm, herbicide, insecticide, fungicide. They have a number of different things, and they can sell you that whole total package of service through their operation to you as a customer, and therefore you become a multifaceted customer for them. That's what we call systems selling. And you may be crossing over and working with another salesperson from a different department on occasion to work with that particular customer. But that's what we call a systems selling approach, and really happens very often in agriculture, actually, because we have several of those that have gone in that direction, not just co-ops, but because it's a value-added approach to them. So here's a schematic, and you're going to see this one a couple times through this unit and series of video lectures. Is oftentimes the buying process is a systematic series or actions of repeatable steps. Most often, and we'll start at the top with needs awareness. A customer needs to understand what they need and why to begin with. Sometimes they may already know. Oftentimes they don't. So you as a salesperson or you as an ag leadership person have to work with an audience or a prospect to discover what their needs actually are, so that they can be aware of that there's something out there that could help them. From there, you move to evaluation of potential solutions, whether that's a new piece of equipment, a different feeding strategy, a different fungicide, a different seed variety. There's a number of different examples that we can give you as we can look at all the different solutions and hopefully then select which one or ones would be candidates or ideas to implement in our team or for that business. Next, then you resolve the problems, hopefully, or we get to the point where we've selected the proper product or the proper idea to implement. We purchase that product. You get to the purchase stage where now the handshake, so to speak, actually happens. And then last and certainly not least is implementation. Customer has to know how to properly implement the solution that they've agreed to purchase. They have to know how to feed it at the appropriate rate, at the appropriate time, at the appropriate amount. They have to know how to operate a new piece of equipment. How does it fold? How does it unfold? What speed should it be operated at, for example? It's a number of those different things. And so this buying process is really crucial that you understand as a salesperson, as a leadership person, how to walk with a customer or audience through that cycle of things that they're going to hopefully buy from you or accept from you as a leader. Now, notice I've got one-way arrows here, and I should have two-way arrows because a customer may have an objection, may not agree, and so therefore may go backwards. Or you may just absolutely hit a roadblock at some point in time. I don't want to portray here that always when you start this process, you're going to complete the circle. Sometimes you don't. That's just the way it goes. You all have done that out there in some of the products that you've purchased or the leadership situations that you've been in. Is you've got a person that's presenting an idea or a concept that they're trying to get you to follow along with, and you just don't buy it. You just don't engage in it. It just doesn't inspire you for whatever reason. And so therefore, you maybe stop the process somewhere along the line. So it doesn't always result in a completed circle here. So I want to make sure and point that out. So first things first is let's break these out and talk about needs awareness. So how do you go about establishing needs? I would suggest a really great technique to use is probing questions. You should have a set of probing questions as you get to know a customer and, or a prospect more specifically, and their operation is you need to have some questions prepared to ask them so that you find out what is important to them about their products that they purchase. You need to also really, really carefully listen and take notes about what customers say and do and observations that you make on their operations. That needs awareness is so crucial in getting to the next step of the buying process. So probing questions, proper listening, and good note-taking will help you jumpstart into the next phase of the typical buying process, which, as we said, is evaluation of solutions to those needs. Once a customer has acknowledged, or in a group dynamic, you've acknowledged that, hey, we have a problem here that we need to address, you're aware of it now we're starting to search for information. A buyer or a group is starting to search for information that might solve that problem as a potential solution. So add value by being an informational source to them. What pieces of information, whether it's brochures, whether it's research data, whether it's articles that you can bring to them by being a good resource. Maybe even taking that customer on a pickup truck ride to another operation that is using that solution so that they can evaluate whether that solution fits their needs. Next, again, resolving the problem. They've settled on a resolution. They've decided to buy, basically. There's, of course, issues and concerns that are probably still going to exist. How do you overcome those buying obstacles in order to get the sale closed? Really crucial that you have a strategy to resolve the problem or close the sale or be able to implement that new management strategy, that inspirational topic that you've been talking about in order to have a resolution to the challenge. The purchase then hopefully happens next. And if you've skipped steps here, folks, you're not going to get to this one. So it's important that you do all of those things carefully. But let's assume that we did it well and we get to the purchase. Make it hassle-free. If there's financing that has to be involved, make that as easy and simple to understand as possible. If delivery has to occur, make sure that you know where and when delivery needs to occur. If installation has to happen, come and help them install it. or have your installation team fully prepped and fully briefed on how and where installation is going to occur. If there's instructions that need to happen, make sure that they're clear and that the customer understands it. It's really crucial that you do this absolutely top-notch in the purchase phase, because that will create rebuy situations. And then lastly, implementation. Don't forget this step. Again, I say it likely leads to repeat sales with that customer and referral sales to other prospects. Really crucial that you do this well. You help them measure if it was successful and that they're using it appropriately. That's the really, again, lost art, I would say, of agri-sales at times, and really all selling, is did it work the way that we predicted it would? And if it didn't, why? So that's really crucial that you work with a customer on that step. So again, back to that buying process, that cyclical nature here that I want you to think about and kind of maybe highlight this slide, take good notes on how you're going to utilize this, because it will come in important in our practice selling opportunities. Here's another one that I kind of developed as a stair step. Again, as you're going up the stairs, you often know if you skip a step, some of you have long legs and can handle it well, and some of you don't. Customers are the same way, as I use that analogy. Some customers don't appreciate skipped steps. Some customers need to have that very slow, methodical stair-step approach. Here's another example that I've put together where you have the approach, the needs discovery, the presentation, maybe a negotiation phase, close the sale, and then the service. And again, understand that you can go backwards at any particular time. So I'm going to pause right there with segment 1 of this Unit 3, the buying process in agriculture. Stay tuned for segment 2. We'll see you then.